morning. So basically I'll be talking about OCT angiography in diabetic retinopathy. I don't have any financial disclosures. The fluorescein angiography used to be the gold standard till now for the use of in diabetic retinopathy. But does the OCT angiography, does it carry any added advantage over the conventional fluorescein angiography? Let me look into this as we go forward. As we know, this is a non-invasive method of imaging both screenshot to that slideshow. Yeah, it's a non-invasive method of imaging retina and choroid. Basically, depth of imaging goes from superficial up to the deep level up to the choroid, and it gives an high resolution images, and it provides images for the information regarding the static blood flow, unlike fluorescein angiography, which gives the information regarding the dynamic blood flow. One need to understand the capillary network arrangements in the retina to know the segmentation slabs and to imaging of the various layers of the retina, starting from superficial up to the deep capillary plexus. What is the rationale of OCT angiography in diabetic retinopathy? The one thing is the disease process is slowly progressive. Diabetic retinopathy has got a long subclinical course. The early changes are very subtle, so we miss some of them. Clinical examination usually underestimates when compared to the imaging modalities. As I shown in the picture, most of the pathological changes, which are like starting from microaneurysms up to the loss of capillary non-perfusion, neovascularization, vascular loops, most of these things can be picked up on OCT angiography. It identifies the diabetic retinopathy in the subclinical stage. As I told, it is a non-invasive. FFA only looks at the superficial plexus, but the OCTA looks at deep capillary plexus also. Localizes the exact depth of the microaneurysm, not dependent on contrast injection unlike fluorescein angiography, but sometimes the leakage will not be seen on the OCT angiography. So details are much appreciated. For example, in this patient is a patient with an 20/20 vision or a normal 6/6 vision. On a routine OCT and fundus, everything looks normal, but if you look at the OCT angiography pictures, especially on the deeper level, you tend to see a distortion of the foveal avascular zone. So you tend to pick up some of the pathological changes even before the clinical scenario or clinical changes starts to appear. Nowadays, even with the ultra wide field, you can go up to the periphery and by 12/12 scans or something, you can pick up the peripheral changes also. What are the OCT biomarkers? Unlike OCTA, you should look at foveal avascular zone, foveal avascular zone contour integrity, vascular calibers, vessel tortuosity, and vessel density. These are some of the biomarkers. If you look at the FAZ, you should look at the acircularity index, area of the FAZ, the perimeter, and the vessel density. Within the 300 microns of the foveal avascular zone, you should assess the vessel density. FAZ enlargement, as you know, it indicates the macular ischemia. Changes seen in diabetics without retinopathy also, it correlates with the diabetic retinopathy changes seen in both superficial capillary plexus as well as deep capillary plexus. The mean horizontal diameter significantly larger in eyes with diabetic retinopathy when compared to the normal patients. But the thing is, it has got certain limitations because FAZ may be absent in some diabetics, no normative data available, segmentation slabs of superficial capillary plexus include some part of the deep capillary plexus also, so segmentation challenges are there. Here is you can see as the severity of the diabetic retinopathy changes, FAZ parameters also keeps on increasing. These are some of the parameters over a period of in NPDR patients, looking at the FAZ grade, perimeter, and non-perfusion index, each correlates with the severity of the non-proliferative diabetic retinopathy. You can also detect the vessel density and the flow index in a OCT optical using an OCTA. Qualitatively, metrics that have been used to assess the ischemia. Looking at the flow index, you can see how severe is the ischemia also. There is some interesting thing which is a change analysis, which gives a plot over a period of time. What is the change of the FAZ over a period of time? What is the change in the vessel density? What is the change in the perfusion density? Like we used to get in the visual fields, you can get a change analysis over a period of frequent follow-ups. Even you can assess the avascular area. You can see in the chart, the normal and the diabetic retinopathy, this is almost looking at the avascular is 100% sensitive and specific in picking up the pathological changes. You can look at the parafoveal and perifoveal densities also, which also correlates with the severity of the diabetic retinopathy. Coming on to the microaneurysms obviously sometimes can be missed on OCT angiography because it's a sluggish outflow, but you will be invariably able to pick up the microaneurysms on OCT angiography. Irmas can be picked up. Caliber of the irmas are greater than that of the surrounding normal capillaries. Looking at the diabetic macular edema, segmentation artifacts is one problematic thing. Superficial plexus parameters are reliable Alteration of FAZ profile is seen in the deep capillary plexus. Even the drill as described in the OCT can be picked up on a OCTA. Capillary non-perfusion areas are picked up much better than the FFA. Neovascularization, obviously, the advantage is you can look at that in the FFA due to the leakage, you are not able to exactly delineate the neovascular zones, but in OCTA you will be able to clearly see the vascular network, greatest linear diameter of the neovascularization, caliber of the vessels, whether the neovascularization active or inactive. By looking at the caliber of the vessels, you can make out whether there is something called, if it is an active, you tend to see an exuberant vascular proliferation, which gives a clue that this neovascularization is active, which helps you, even you can measure the flow rates in both NVE and NVD using an OCTA. Response to anti-VEGF can also be picked up, as the study says that poor responders to anti-VEGF tends to have more microaneurysms and FAZ area in the deep capillary zone than the good responders. Even the response to anti-VEGF can be serially followed up. Response to pan-retinal photocoagulation, easy to follow up. Once you do a PRP or an anti-VEGF, you can easily follow up these cases. So, but this has got certain limitations, like it is an evolving technology. Segmentation errors can occur, then the artifacts can occur, the dynamic information such as leakage can be absent, image acquisition area is relatively small. The challenge to develop automated repeatable segment in poorly fixating eye is another issue. Relatively poor axial resolution, you can miss some of the lesions which have got a sluggish flow like microaneurysms and other things. In conclusion, it does not substitute an FFA. Lack of information of the peripheral retina sometimes be a disadvantageous thing. It complements the other imaging modalities. Perfusion, FAZ areas, vessel density, flow density, and especially in the deep capillary plexus predicts the diabetic retinopathy progression. We still have to learn a lot on how the OCTA affects the therapeutic decision. It is an evolving technology. You can alter it according to your convenience and get the results out of it. Thank you.
Thank you.